Okay, class, today we're going to be reading a new book, and it is called Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. And we have 2 new vocabulary words in our book. It is terrible and horrible. Do y'all know what terrible and horrible means?
Yes.
Yes, Emma.
Very, very bad.
Very, very bad. Annabeth, what do you think? What do you think?
Wait.
What do you think terrible and horrible means?
I think that it would someone would come up to you and punch you in the cheek, and it would be really hard, and that would be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day.
That would be terrible for somebody to punch you in your face. That would hurt very bad. Has there ever been a time where something terrible or horrible has happened to you? Yes, Annabeth.
Someone at my school, he punched me in the stomach and then hit me really like that.
He punched you in your stomach. Now that must have
and
been
like
terrible.
That and then that.
That must have hurt very bad. Yes,
When my Meemaw died.
When your Meemaw died, I bet that was horribly sad, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. So that's what terrible and horrible means. Y'all got a good idea of what those 2 words mean.
Thank you, ma'am.
So we're going to look at our book now. Is there anything on this book that you think might tell us what the book would be about? Yes, Emma.
Maybe he went to school and his friends were being mean to him, and he went to gym. He had to do things he didn't like, and he didn't like what his mom accidentally packed him the wrong thing out. Like if he had a brother or sister, he might have packed the other lunch, and the lunch that he didn't like, and he would have had a bad day.
And what about this picture makes you think that?
He's grumpy, and sometimes people come home and they're so mad, they say, "Leave me alone," and they get in the bed.
And they get in the bed after a bad day. Yes, Annabeth, what?
He probably is going to go to sleep, and then he hasn't come in his mouth. He's going to chew it all night when he's sleeping, and then he's going to get in his hair.
You think that? Okay. Yeah. You got all that from the cover of this book. Well,
ma'am,
we're going to play a game, and it's called Story Bag. And in this bag are items that are either used in the story or have something to do with our new book. And you're going to draw an item, and we're going to make a prediction on what we think or how we think that's going to be used in the book. Okay? So I'm going to go first and draw a photo, or I'm sorry, an item. A Hershey's bar. How might a Hershey's bar be in our story?
Maybe he gets it to eat, like if they go and he's had a bad day, his mom gives it to him so he can eat it.
To make him better. To make his terrible bad day better. That might be one thing. Are you ready to draw something? Close your eyes. Don't peek. A bar of soap. How do you think soap might be used in our story?
Because he might eat supper, and then he's all dirty. Then he has to wash his body with soap.
He needs to take a bath after supper. Because that's what everybody does, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So we think he's going to take a bath.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You want to draw another one?
A phone.
A phone. Why do you think a phone might be used in our story?
Maybe he's trying to tell his mom something. His mom won't get off the phone because he keeps talking and she keeps interrupting him. Like he'll be talking and I'll interrupt him in the middle of it. So
you think he's going to interrupt Mom talking on the phone? Okay. You want to draw again? Some teeth. Why do you think some teeth might be in our bag?
I think he has a cavity.
You think he has a cavity?
And his cavity gets infected, and he has to go to the doctor next week after he goes to
You think he's got to go to the dentist?
Yes,
okay. Okay. You think he has to go to the dentist? All right. Well, let's put our story back. Now let's read our book and see if your predictions are right. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're going to read Alexander and a Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. Let's get over here to page 1. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair. And when I got out of bed this morning, I tripped on the skateboard, and by mistake, I dropped my sweater in the sink while the water was running, and I could tell It was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. He looks pretty grumpy. Why do you think he looks pretty grumpy? What about that picture makes you think he's grumpy, Annabelle?
He ate some gum and then it got in his hair, and he slept with it in his mouth. And my mom has done that before. And when I did that in morning, I had that much hair.
You had a big knot in your hair.
Yes, ma'am.
What about the picture makes you think he's grumpy?
Well, he slid on his skateboard, so that must have hurt really, really bad. That's probably why
until it's turned upside down. Anything else in the picture make you think a bad day? Yes, ma'am.
The sweater's in the sink, and he's probably going to wear it for school. Now he's going to have to go to school with a wet shirt.
Oh, that would make me grumpy. Okay. At breakfast, Anthony found a Corvette Stingray car kit in his breakfast cereal box, and Nick found a junior undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal box. But in my breakfast cereal box, all I found was breakfast cereal. I think I'll move to Australia. Where is Australia?
It's in a long town that you go, and then it's like a big, humongous town.
That's a humongous town.
And it has all these stuff.
Okay. Where do you
I know about Australia.
Where is Australia?
That there's kangaroos there, and sometimes there's sand.
Do you think that Australia is near us or far away from us?
Far away from us.
Far away from us.
And I know it's a continent.
That's right, it is a continent. In the carpool, Mrs. Gibson let Becky have a seat by the window. Audrey and Elliot got seats by the window, too. I said I was being scrunched. I said I was being smushed. I said if I don't get a seat by the window, I am going to be car sick. No one even answered. I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. At school, Mrs. Dickens liked Paul's picture of the sailboat better than my picture of the invisible castle. At singing time, she said I sang too loud. At counting time, she said I left out 16. Who needs 16? I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I could tell because Paul said I wasn't his best friend anymore. He said that Philip Parker was his best friend, and that Albert Moyo was his next best friend, and that I was only his third best friend. I hope you sit on a tack, I said to Paul. I hope the next time you get a double-decker strawberry ice cream cone, the ice cream part falls off the cone part and lands in Australia. There were 2 cupcakes in Philip Parker's lunch bag, and Albert got a Hershey bar with almonds, and Paul's mother gave him a piece of jelly roll that had little coconut sprinkles on the top. Guess whose mother forgot to put in dessert? It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. That's what it was, because after school my mom took us all to the dentist, and Dr. Fields found a cavity just in me. Come back next week and I'll fix it, said Dr. Fields. Next week? I said, I'm going to Australia. On the way downstairs, the elevator door closed on my foot, and while we were waiting for my mom to go get the car, Anthony made me fall where it was muddy. And then when I started crying because of the mud, Nick said I was a crybaby. And what do you think is going to happen next?
His mom's going to see him, and he's probably going to get in trouble for falling in the mud.
You think he's going to get in trouble for falling in the mud? What do you think is going to happen next?
His mom's going to get angry for pushing him on the ground.
You think his mom's going to get angry at him for being pushed into the mud? Well, let's find out. I started crying because of the mud. Nick said I was a crybaby, and while I was punching Nick for saying crybaby, my mom came back with the car and scolded me for being muddy and fighting. I am having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, I told everyone. No one even answered. So then we went to the shoe store to buy some sneakers. Anthony chose white ones with blue stripes. Nick chose red ones with white stripes. I chose blue ones with red stripes. But then the shoe man said, "We're all sold out." They made me buy plain old white ones, but they can't make me wear them. When we picked up my dad at his office, he said I couldn't play with his copying machine, but I forgot. He also said to watch out for the books on his desk, and I was careful as could be, except for my elbow. He also said don't fool around with his phone, but I think I called Australia. My dad said please don't pick him up anymore. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. There were lima beans for dinner, and I hate limas. There was kissing on TV, and I hate kissing. My bath was too hot. I got soap in my eyes, and my marble went down the drain, and I had to wear my railroad train pajamas. I hate railroad train pajamas. When I went to bed, Nick took back the pillow he said I could keep, and the Mickey Mouse nightlight burned out, and I bit my tongue. The cat wants to sleep with Anthony, not me. It has been a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mom says some days are like that, even in Australia. The end. Okay, so now that we've read our book, in the beginning, what did we say that we thought, what did we predict might happen? That he was going to have a bad day from gym class? That what else? What did y'all think might happen?
His friends were going to be mean to him.
His friends were going to be mean to him.
He would get grumpy and get gum in his mouth. His hair, no.
So now that we've read the book, now what do we know happened? All kinds of bad things happened to him. He slipped on his skateboard, and he had to go to the dentist, and he didn't get the tennis shoes that he wanted.
And he got a cavity.
He got a cavity.
And he got felled in the mud. And he got a Swiss man.
That's a lot of terrible, horrible, bad things to happen, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So it really wasn't one thing that made him have a bad day.
A bunch.
It was a bunch of things that made him have a bad day. Yeah. So now we're going to have an activity. And I'm going to give you a piece of gum. So you get to choose a piece of gum. And you get to choose a piece of gum. We're going to pass these around the class and have gum. We're going to put them in our mouth and chew them. But we're only going to leave it in our mouth. We're not going to stick it under our desk or on our table or anywhere else. And while you're chewing your gum, I want you to think very hard about things that happened in our story that were bad, that made Alexander have a bad day. Then we're also going to think about ways that Alexander could have had a good day or had a better day. Like whenever Alexander chose to jump up from the mud and punch his brother. It wasn't a very good decision. His day could have been better if he had maybe told his mom that his brother was calling him a crybaby. He could have made better choices, right? While you're chewing your gum, everyone's going to get a piece of paper. On one side of the piece of paper, you're going to write bad things that happened to Alexander, okay? On the other side of the paper, you're going to write things that Alexander could have done differently to have a better day. Like, not punch his brother, okay? After you've done writing or drawing on the bad side and the good side, you're going to take Alexander's hair. And we've each got some glue at your table, and we're going to glue your hair at the top. Okay? And then, when you're finished, here comes the fun part. You're going to take the gum out of your mouth and stick it into the hair on whichever side is your bad side. Okay? And then after we get done doing our good day versus bad day activity, we're going to play Where in the World is Australia? Okay?
Cool.
Are y'all ready?
Yes.
All right, let's go.